that's it. Sure. Look. It's a big W, I tell you. It's a big W.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Seriously Loco, the Seriously Crazy fan podcast for El Paso Locomotive FC, a proud member of the Beautiful Game Network and brought to you by Roughneck Scarves and Icarus FC. I am your host, Phil Bakke. I am joined tonight by my co-hosts, luckily, because my voice is apparently shot. I'm joined first by Mika Burrell. Mika, how's it going?
Hey, it's going. We'll do our best to try and do the heavy lifting as far as talking, because our boy here had a little sinus infection. So
yeah, not COVID.
But we got to give the people the content.
Yeah, no, we got to bring it. Like, we can't let these things stand in our way, especially after a big old dub. So we're joined as well by Christian Canales. Christian, how's it going?
It's going good. Hey, we're back recording after a win. It's the first this season.
It feels good. We don't have to answer like existential questions today, because that was the vibe of the last few episodes, was like, are we good? And now we get to talk maybe a little bit more focused about a specific match. But with all that being said, I did just want to quick do some admin at the top of the show. Well, we are Seriously Loco. I don't normally sound like this, but if you're finding us for the first time, you can find us on any of the podcast platforms that you use to listen to podcasts, and you can find us on most of the social media networks that are, I guess, frequented. Twitter, we're at Seriously Loco, and then at Seriously_Loco on Instagram, and you can search Seriously Loco on Facebook and find us as well. On those platforms, we're also, or in addition to those platforms, we're also on Twitch. So you can find us over there for live watch parties of away matches, which is going to come in handy this weekend as Locomotive take on San Antonio FC. So I'll be doing some rehabbing before then to make sure the voice is in order. And then with that, we've also got our Patreon, where there's been a bunch of written articles and everything up there. So if you're interested in even more content, you can head over there and consider supporting the show. But with all that being said, as I'm running out of steam here in the old voice box, Christian, you're here, and I want to take advantage of that by kicking off with one of your patented questions.
Yeah, so we're kind of in a little bit of a transition period, athletics-wise, and so was wondering if they took soccer away, in all divisions, all countries, soccer was non-existent. What would be the next major sport that you guys would hyper focus on?
I did hyper focus on a sport before soccer, and that was ice hockey. Big Boston Bruins fan. I interned with an NHL broadcaster for one season with the Islanders, the Rangers, and the Devils. So I have a soft spot for the Devils as well, being from New Jersey. So yeah, ice hockey would be the one for me probably, and then maybe like baseball a close second. But ice hockey has a lot of similarities with soccer. Learning offside wasn't that hard when you know the ice hockey offside. It's a similar concept. Obviously, a lot faster of a game in some respects, and more physical in some respects as well. But hockey's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch in person as well. If you haven't been out to an El Paso Rhinos game, like when the Locomotive are not in town, go check it out, because it's a lot of fun. And they're actually very, very good. So, yeah, hockey for sure, I think. Phil?
Yeah, I think hockey was definitely up there for me. But I think it would be baseball. If soccer hadn't come along, like I was always Cubs, through and through, and played baseball growing up, so always just had like that affinity for the sport, and I'm enjoying the amount and this could be, I don't know if this is my own echo chamber or whatever, but it feels like people are kind of getting like using this summer to get back into baseball to a certain extent, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so I think baseball, which I will be a little bit focused on anyways, just because I'll hold out hope that all of the things that I think about the Cubs aren't true. Yeah, Seiya Suzuki, for anyone who's paying attention to the MLB, is off to a blistering start, having joined the Cubs from Japan in his rookie year. 3 home runs in his first 4 games as a professional in MLB. So that transition, he is not finding life in MLB too tough, having come from the NPB. So anyways, just a little plug there. But yeah, I think it would be baseball.
It's that post-lockout interest, I think. Because for me, too, like, I've been watching the Mets more, and I think it's like, oh, it's back. I feel obligated because
because you almost didn't have it.
Because we almost didn't have it. Yeah, so psychologically, there's definitely a trick there. You have to wonder now if these lockouts are like half marketing. But I digress. Christian,
the tinfoil hat comes out, Mika. No, I think for me, it's. I mean, anyone who's listened to the podcast for an extended period of time will know that it's definitely the NBA for me. The only major sport in San Antonio where I was living for, in 2019, I'd been living there for the past 8 years. So yeah, it was definitely the NBA for me, and San Antonio is there in the play-in game for the playoffs. The NBA has changed their model a little bit in the last year, so they have a play-in game, and San Antonio's in there tonight. So we'll see how they do.
Okay, you answered my question then, because I've heard people talking about this plane, and I'm like, what is this? Like, since when? So, do you like it? Is it a good addition?
I mean, it's whatever. I mean, in the end, I feel like basketball, because most rounds are a series, the better team will win out in the playoffs, so I don't mind having, an extra team thrown in there, because the best team will win out in the end. It's not like, I think like the USL play-in is dumb because it's already like a crapshoot. I don't think that you need you need to add an extra team in there just for the chaos of it. Like, no one needs to see like Galaxy 2 make a run because they got into a play-in game.
Yeah. No, fair. Yeah, it's interesting to think about, and that when you said like picture a world where soccer was completely gone, and I was briefly horrified, like because I realized just how much I consume, and like obviously Champions League today and everything. It was just, gosh, the idea of not having that was simply terrifying. So good job, Christian, for having a simple question that also felt completely existential, I guess.
He wanted to keep the vibe going from last week.
Right. We got to have that connection still. So, guys, we're on to El Paso 5, Monterey Bay 0. The Seriously Loco match review. A huge game, a huge result for John Hutchinson and El Paso Locomotive. I guess first and foremost, I'm interested just in how you guys, your initial reactions. Like, obviously, huge win, and I mean, Mika, we could start with you, but what is your just like overall takeaway from this game? And we'll get into some listener questions and everything to describe kind of maybe what this means, but being in the stadium that night and all of that, like how did it feel, and what did you take away kind of maybe emotionally from this game?
Yeah, it's like a weight off, I think. I mean, I'm not even concerned with the table necessarily. It was more the the psychological boost that I was interested, both for the fans and for the players, because it has been pretty gloomy in these parts. And so I think that this was really important in that aspect, especially being at home, especially coming off a really shocking, road couple fixtures in California. So, yeah, it's just you feel a little bit lighter on your feet. I think after a result like this, I think the players would probably agree with that. First press conference of the Hutchinson era that wasn't completely depressing. But actually, Hutch is very he's very Ancelotti like in the sense that like if you looked at him on the sideline, you wouldn't be able to tell if we had won or lost. He's very even keel in that sense, and he was the same way in the press conference. Obviously, had more positive things to talk about, of course, with the win. But yeah, it's just a weight off, I think, and something to build on. And I think it's important that the players know, like, oh, we can win. Like, it's not like we don't have that institutional memory of actually winning games. So I think that's important for them and for the new boys as well who've joined in the off season. To get that first W under the belt. I think it's just great for everyone involved. Now, we can pick it apart and there are mitigation and all that stuff with the opponent and the circumstances, but overall, like, you just have to be pleased with it. And I think most around Locomotive are.
Christian, how are you feeling? I mean, after this, did you get your vitamins here?
Yeah, I mean, it was desperately needed. There's no doubt about that. And I think the circumstances of the win were a big deal too. This was a game where we scored the most goals that we've ever scored in a match before. We beat the opponent by a bigger margin than we've ever beat an opponent by before. I think it was important that happened, because I think Hutchinson and the team need to separate themselves from the past 3 years teams in a positive way. Obviously, we were thinking that they were nothing like the past 3 years teams because we lost 4 matches in a row, and for 2 of them we looked terrible doing it. So I think that they really needed to establish that this is different from the last 3 years, but it can be a good thing. I don't think that, I don't expect this team to win 5-0 every week, but the fact that they have shown that they can bounce back from being in such a terrible spot, what is truly, rock bottom of this club in the last 3 seasons. This was the lowest that the club has ever been, and to come back with a win like that, regardless of opponent, I think is important.
Yeah. I think you can't really understate the value of that, of getting off of the mark, for no pun intended, for
oh
god. I mean, genuinely though, there were all sorts of calls online for, all sorts of madness, and hopefully I think it's calmed the whole fan base down a little bit in terms of just seeing what they thought they were maybe going to see out of the gate. It maybe took us a little bit to find the right formula here. But speaking of going into this match, we in our last episode had a few thoughts about like what the starting 11 was going to look like, and there were some significant changes and maybe some things that we didn't expect out of this starting 11. But we got a couple of questions about chemistry and this starting 11. And I think we had talked in the last episode in teeing these questions up. We had talked in the last episode about expecting the veterans to get the start, and really their presence, their like cool-headedness, all those sorts of things were really what we were thinking. Like, hey, they need to be involved because we need guys who are going to keep, they're going to keep it level. They're going to keep everybody like, on the right track. And so we got a couple of questions. The first was from @4pf Eric on Instagram. He said, the chemistry, is it starting to improve? And then at Texas Music Kid on Twitter asked, do you think the win was more about guys getting more comfortable in the system, or were there changes from prior matches, or both? So, I mean, what do you guys think? Like, was this match driven by the character and chemistry of this starting 11, or was this like tactical changes that Hutch made, or little bit of little column A, little column B?
Yeah, definitely a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. I mean, we knew that Hutch's system was going to take a little bit for guys to get up to speed. I mean, it's more demanding in a lot of ways in terms of just sheer fitness and athleticism, but also the mental side of it too, of knowing when to exert yourself and when to fall back a little bit, and that'll just take time. And I don't even think we're necessarily there yet either. But I mean, Hutch did start eight eight players that he inherited, right? So I think that does have something to do with it. That these are guys that understand how each other plays. They're a group that've been together for quite some time. And so that's important, especially in the back line. And I asked John about it. I said, you start 3 out of 4 of your back line are players you inherited. Are you settled on that? And he said, the team picks itself. I mean, he's very much big on competition. And, I think it was, to be fair, I think the answer was a little bit like non-committal for the sake of it, like, because he wants to, have that flexibility of letting guys impress him in training and all that. And I think eventually a starting 11 more or less will start to emerge. But yeah, it's a bit of both. And I think it did help to have those experienced guys on the pitch, with all that speed in front of them, and with the Diego Lunas and the Snoopes of the world. But yeah, having a lot of Lowry era players, if you will, on the pitch certainly couldn't have hurt us.
Yeah, and I think that it showed I don't know what the word is, but I guess flexibility from Hutchinson. I think that he really did kind of deviate from the previous 4 matches in who came out, where they were on the field, all that kind of stuff, which I didn't expect. You go through so many matches with the same things happening over and over again, losing in the same ways, that I was a little bit concerned that he is a little bit too committed to his principles. And, I not that I was judging him one way or another for it because of how early it was in the season. Maybe it would work out if he sticks with it, but that he is capable of being flexible, but also not throwing the entire system out of the window, I think is very useful. And I think that is something that is a good quality, especially with a first time head coach, being able to say, okay, this isn't working, but let's figure something out. And yeah, I think that the personnel had a lot to do with the way that we played.
So we'll talk through the goals first, because we got a handful of questions about the clean sheet, which I think we all talked about, or we had talked about, Mika, on the last episode, about how, hey, clean sheet is the priority. Although I may have gotten a little more worked up about after that, about winning the game, which the team did. So credit to them. But we'll talk about the clean sheet in a little bit. But speaking about the goals and maybe the big incidents from the match, the thing that gets us off the mark after what was a bright start, Locomotive were on the front foot, like from the first whistle, created a handful of chances in that opening, I guess just shy of 20 minutes. But it was Andrew Fox who starts at center back for the first time this season, and wins a towering header. And it was over the line. And luckily the assistant spots it, but maybe a little delayed in giving it, but crucial opening goal from a set piece as well.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan, he just couldn't have placed it any better to that, far post. And I don't know who it was that was defending Andrew, but it was a mismatch. So let's just put it that way. And to be fair, there's a lot of mismatches when you're coming up against Andrew Fox, because he's quite quite a big boy. And yeah, that run is just perfect. Gets to the ball first and heads it. And from my vantage point, obviously it was, you know, the farther side of the pitch from where we were sitting in the press box, but we couldn't tell if it was in or not. So thankfully it was, because it was just a really nice piece of play. And Andrew was unequivocal in crediting Dylan for the placement of that. I mean, I think Andrew Fox is going to come up a lot in our discussion. And let me just say, I got to toot my own horn a little bit because, like I said, he's the first name on the team sheet for me, just in terms of importance, and that presence that he brings. But in this one, like, he actually is extremely influential for 3 of our goals at least, while being just lights out in the defense.
Yeah, Christian, I mean, he does influence the next goal as well. As it's another set piece delivery to the far post. He's making that run to try to attack the ball and gets dragged down for a penalty. I mean, first of all, just about the clearest penalty that you'll see given. And then Josue Aaron Gomez stepped up to the spot and dispatched it as decisively as it was given in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, the goal was absolutely smashed, and you know, Andrew on the corner, Andrew did a good job of, you know, getting space and seeing the space and making the defender have to react. And you know, luckily for us, they weren't able to react fast enough, so we draw the penalty. Gomez goes up to take the penalty. Thank God, because I don't want to see Richie taking penalties. I don't know what was going on in that first match, but you know, and he absolutely buries it. The keeper, Dallas, or was that his last name? That's his first name. Jay.
Yeah,
Dallas Jay. Guesses right, to his credit, but Gomez has just put it in with so much power and with such precision to the side that there was no stopping that.
So, just shy of 10 minutes later, we have the incident, which obviously kind of shapes the rest of the game to a certain extent, which is the second the second yellow card for Robbie Crawford with a handball on a Dylan Maris free kick that was a shot on hit. I don't want to say a shot on target because the world will never know. But Crawford raises his arm, it's struck by the ball. And so, Mika, for you, I mean, second yellow warranted in that situation?
For sure, yeah. And I think the only reason why there was any doubt in the stadium was because the referee was unable to find his red card. It ended up being in the front pocket instead of the back, but that's all right. So yeah, it is the second yellow and then a sending off for Crawford, who, I mean, clearly on the replay extends his arm, and actually the ball strikes his arm in such a way that, like, his arm like vibrates. So it's like really clear that it is a penalty or an infraction. So yeah, I mean, just a reward for all of the pressure that we were exerting in that first half, because I mean, I know we've got a question about it, but we earned that. You know what I mean? That it's not like that it was 0-0 at that point. We were already, you know, clear away, like 2-0 up very early doors, and to get that is just, I think, a reward for all our hard work, and for some of the bounces and calls that we've not been getting. Like, it felt really good to just have that kind of thing go our way.
And I mean, Crawford as well, if memory serves, his initial yellow card is given away like when they lose the ball under pressure in midfield, and he is essentially like forced into hacking someone down like quite early on, and earning himself that first yellow. So it's just like you said, it is, you know, these yellows and red cards and stuff, they certainly shape the game. But this one, very justified, and the result almost directly of Locomotive's level of play up to that point. So this season we've had, you know, it's been hit or miss coming out of halftime. Obviously, with a man advantage, you'd expect Locomotive to turn the screw a little bit, but maybe we weren't expecting 2 minutes after the interval. Josue Aaron Gomez, Christian, he finds himself in behind, which is not really a situation we see Aaron in all that often because he's just not typically that type of striker, but takes advantage of maybe a little bit of a lucky bounce, but runs onto the ball and finishes with a really, really deft chip past Jay.
Yeah, it was a I don't remember if I'm trying to remember how the goal happened because I feel like it was a really good pass and he made like a really good run.
Borelli just kind of bends it around the back line, and I tried really hard to see in the replay if it took a deflection off the defender who was like really lazily sticking his leg out.
Yeah.
But I think it goes clean through because I think he does get the assist. So yeah, he just kind of bends it down the line and around.
Yeah, and to see that, for Aaron to see that the ball was going there and for Borelli to see the space, I think it was a really good good interplay in between them, and then the finish, man. What a finish. Absolutely filthy. I will say I was upset because I missed that one. I stepped away at halftime and, just didn't make it back. We figure, I get back in, a minute, 2 minutes after the whistle blows, I'll be fine. But no, I saw that we were up 3-0. So, I was a little bit upset about it.
Dude, that happens to you a lot.
Yeah, I miss a lot of goals for walking. I need to stop I will say I need to be actively watching it and then step away. It's not that I can't watch it. If I can't watch it, we also lose. So I just need to have the intent and then for stuff to happen. So next time during a match, if someone, if you want to call 911 and tell them that you're hearing strange noises from my address, go ahead. I'll walk away and answer the door and
we'll score
maybe
a blinder. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I love the most about Gomez's second goal is, yes, the finish is outrageous. Like, just couldn't have done that any more perfectly, and Jay's got no chance with the way that is looped over him. But what I love the most about it is the confidence to take it, because as we know, Josue is a confidence player. So you just wonder, is this opening the floodgates, right? I mean, with a brace, I'd be shocked if he doesn't keep his place against San Antonio. But yeah, the confidence for me is huge. And he transmits that to the whole team, I think. So, I loved everything about it.
Yeah, it was unusual too, because how many times have we seen him in that spot where he just tries to smash it? And, more often than not, unfortunately, it'll go wide or go high. So that was a real big change of pace. No pun intended.
Yeah.
For him.
I think, it seems obvious to say after a 5-0 result, but that front line was so menacing all night, and Josue is such a big part of that in terms of, and we talk a lot about what his like hold up play and physicality and his ability to like his positioning even to like win free kicks. He like does all kinds of like really hard work. So it's always great to see him get into that sort of position and take his chance. Cause he spends so much of the game like just grafting, like despite being a striker, and in this case like gets his reward with 2 goals. Another menace on the front line, and Mika, you called this a little bit pregame because you spotted Diego in the hot pink boots before the whistle, and his goal on the night, nominated for USL Goal of the Week, but this was Diego. I would say Diego the winger, because we saw him deployed on the wing for the first time this season, like as part of that front three. Diego at his like fluid and skillful and direct best.
Yeah. Ask Derek Fox, ask Joe from the striker, anyone that was in the press box that night. He came out in those pink boots, and I said, nah, he's going off tonight. Like, you don't wear those unless you've got just absolute confidence in yourself and you're trying to be seen, right? Like, I'm sure the boots are, he picks them because they're comfortable and all that. But I mean, asked them, because I said it in the box and I was making jokes about it all night, like, it's the boots, man, it's the boots. But Diego, yeah, he spoke about that too. I had asked him, like, you know, you're nominally in that front three for this one. Do you enjoy playing there? Because you've been kind of an 8 or a 10 with Dylan, and even in the second half, he kind of withdraws a little bit, and he was really just clear that he can play in any of those positions. But I think as one of those forwards is really where he's just so beautiful to watch. And I mean, his goal, it just left the defender absolutely for dead. The composure to wait for the defender to commit to the slide tackle and then just pop it over him, shimmy the very next guy, and then you think Jay probably thinks he's going far post with the curler, and he just slots it through his legs. Like, everything about it is just magnificent. And I mean, he's 18. Like, he's 18. I know we talk about this all the time, but it is really just incredible. Like, I don't know. I'm running out of superlatives for the young man. Like, he's just great. And another player that you love to see playing confidently. And I think I might have said Diego goal, so we'll have to recheck the
Yeah, I'll have to recap that.
yeah, because I saw him come out in the pink boots and I was like, oh, it's over for you hoes, like, period.
Go for it.
I will say, and this is a timely comment too, given the schedule, but like, he's so good, and those are plays that you were not seeing Christian Pirano or Jose Gallegos make. And I say that
Come
for two
outside.
reasons. I say that for two reasons. One, because these were like the latest, like, in this like generation of like wonderkins from USL, but also because we're seeing San Antonio this week, so I had to stir the pot a little bit. Harry, we know you're listening.
Yeah.
But but yeah, he's just has so much quality, and it's on display. He's not just like a technically sound player. He's got like the flair and everything else to bring to the table as well.
To hear him speak about the goal was really funny in the press conference, because he speaks about every single thing so matter-of-factly, like, where he's like, yep, the guy was running towards me. I saw that he was running, that it looked like he was going to dive in. So I was like, well, I'll just flick the ball over him. And then as I was running into the box, like, I knew that he was coming, like, he was running pretty hard towards the end line. So I was like, well, I'll just cut inside. And then, I thought, like, well, the keeper probably thinks that I'm going far post. So I'll just, like, drill it. I'll just, like, put my laces through it and hope he gets caught. And it's just so funny, because I'm like, okay, the game doesn't happen at that speed. Like, the way you're talking about it, like, if that's how you're experiencing the game, then, like, we're all, like, everyone is in trouble, because it's like, if he's seeing things at that pace of, like, well, I guess I'll just, like, flick it over him. Like, that's not how quickly it's actually happening. So I'm convinced he sees things, like, at, half speed, where he's just able to react, like, so quickly. And the skill move, that ability just to remain calm and keep your composure in the box, cut inside past the defender, and then fire past the keeper. It's a fantastic goal, and capped what was a really good performance in an attacking sense for Locomotive, obviously, but for him personally, really good. And then to cap it all off, we got a Dylan Morris goal from the edge of the area, and kind of trademark Dylan in that he shows a lot of composure to hold on to the ball, and every single defender is like, I don't know whether he's going to take this with his right or his left, and he ends up arrowing it into the corner with his left, which, is it his weaker foot? Who's to say?
Yeah, I think it's pretty even as far as his career goals with either foot for Locomotive, at least, because he scored a couple with the left foot. I know there was one against New Mexico United, I think another against Las Vegas. I mean, when you've got a player as two-footed as he is, it just opens up so many possibilities because he switches onto his right almost out of necessity because someone is trying to show him onto that foot. And just by switching it, he's got space and time and great finish. I mean, and a great night for him, goal and an assist. And honestly, one of the handful, maybe that's even a little bit generous to say, but one of a handful of players that I think has been pretty consistent even through the really poor start to the season, and a player that demands a lot of himself and was not happy with the way that things were going. That one time he spoke to the press, so really great to see him contributing on the score sheet because the things that he does don't always show up in that way, but 5 goals, 5 assists last season, I think. So if he can best that this year, then awesome. But he's just such an important part of the team.
The maybe it's a question for another episode, but the dichotomy between Diego's answer to your question about being utilized in different positions versus Dylan's, two very different attitudes. So
Sure,
and
yeah.
maybe it speaks to Diego's youth, and he still is kind of discovering himself as a player, whereas Dylan probably has a good grasp on where he feels like best utilized.
For sure, yeah. Dylan's very much on the other side of the spectrum. He's a veteran, and don't move him around too much. He's a midfielder. He's an 8. He's a 10. That's about it.
Well, we've talked about the goals. Let's talk about the clean sheet, because this was for all the hype around the 5 goals, and rightly so, goal scoring has not been a challenge for Locomotive so far this season. And I guess talking about the goals, at Genevieve on Twitter asked, elephant in the room, did Monterey being down to 10 players a big chunk of the match maybe help this 5-0 win? I don't want to discount the team's progress, but it's a little hard for me to believe we turned it around by such a large margin. So what do you guys think? And Christian, we can start with you. Monterey Bay down to 10 for the second half, essentially. How are you kind of calibrating the 5-0 versus them being down to 10?
Yeah, I mean, I think about it, the first 45 minutes, we were up 2-0. I don't think I saw anything that showed that we wouldn't have been able to do that for another 45 minutes. Did it help that maybe there was one less man on the field for a half? Possibly. But we've also seen how the opposite can happen too. In previous years, the other team goes down 10 men, and it's almost like a handicap for us. And that may have to do with style of play. I think, being a little more aggressive will always tend to get you more goals just by being more aggressive. So, would we have won 5-0 if Monterey had all 11? Maybe, maybe not. I can't say that for sure. But would we still have won decisively? I think absolutely. And I don't think that just because they had 10 men, I don't think that gave us any significant advantage. This was on paper, just like the previous 4 weeks too. This is on paper a team that we should beat, and they came out and were able to get the job done.
Mika, what do you think about? I mean, I guess I was thinking about it, and it's it's 2-0 at halftime. Monterey Bay had one shot that was not on target in the first half. That was the extent of their production with 11. So I'm thinking if you extrapolate that over 90 minutes, it's not that weird to say well, okay, with 11, then is it 4-0 instead of 5? Is that it was still 2-0 at halftime. So, I mean, it does feel like this result was, they end the shot with, or Monterey Bay ends the match with 2 shots, I think, and 1 on target, which they actually got their shot on target when they were down a man. So it feels a little bit like, yeah, I mean, this result was pretty fair given what it was, the game state at 11v11.
Well, Phil, I come bearing advanced stats to match your vibes, because of the 5 goals we scored, we earned an XG of 3.34. So what does that tell us? That we deserve to score all those goals. And another stat that I love, as y'all know, is the PPDA, the passes per defensive action. In the first half, Monterey Bay were allowing approximately 9 passes before pressing us, either by regaining the ball or disrupting our attack somehow. In the second half, when they're down a man, that skyrocketed to 30.6. So they gave up on trying to get onto the ball, right? So, and that's kind of to Jen's point, like,
yeah,
we were definitely, it was a wounded animal out there, and we definitely took advantage, but they dropped into 2 banks of 4 pretty apparently, and just tried to hold on, right? And so we can't ignore that. But I mean, like you said, we were dominant even before the sending off. We created those high pressure situations that led to the Monterey red card. And then, of course, after the sending off, arguably there was more space, and arguably maybe not, because of the way that they kind of bunkered and just tried to hold on. But a lot of our attacking play was just very incisive. Like, I think about Borelli's pass to Gomez to score the first goal when they're down 10 men, or down to 10 men. That just unlocks everything, A lesser player doesn't do that, right? So, yeah, I mean, do we want to... Here's what I'll say. This is not going to happen this weekend against San Antonio. I'll be shocked if we could put up that many goals against the San Antonio side, who are much, much better than Monterey Bay. And I think Jen's... I think it's understandable not to draw too many conclusions from it, but what the numbers are telling us is that we did deserve to win by as much as we did.
Yeah. And to your point, they did give up to a certain extent, but talking about that dropping off, like, those 30 passes are meant to happen, in front of the banks of 4, essentially, like, in those situations. Now, the fact that they're allowing, like, multiple moves of, like, if that's the average passes per defensive action, then
30.6.
Then we're talking about, like,
From
there's
9.
some that are like 40, 50 passes, like,
yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
anyways,
incredible, right?
that is a great stat. But yeah, I think the one area where we do want to draw some conclusions for sure, because obviously the question marks weren't around goal scoring, but they definitely were around defending and being able to just manage a game and make it look not just totally chaotic and all sorts of stuff. So our first question was from @MarkPonce2 on Twitter, and he said the clean sheet was pivotal. Do you think there was player involvement in the tactical change to keeping Newton back? Granted, there wasn't a lot for him to worry about. He seemed to stay in a smaller space this game. And I mean, it definitely had the feel of, I guess, when those balls were coming over the top and things were happening, or that, Monterey Bay, especially in the first half, were trying to make things happen in behind. The space just wasn't there, where previously, teams obviously had exploited those gaps basically for fun.
Yeah, I said this about Evans' game against San Diego, is that I felt that he was quite conservative in his positioning and just his overall play, and I think you saw that again. Now, again, the back line, 3 out of 4 of those guys are very used to playing with one another, so that couldn't have hurt. And Yuma is so... I think he's so integral to the defensive performance, because he was just barking, like, all night, directing traffic, telling people where to stand, telling people when he was unhappy with them. He pretty noticeably yelled at Harry Brockbank, and Hutch is totally fine with that. I mean, if Yuma's the captain, he's one of those people that if he's not happy with what he sees, then he'll let you know. And Harry was really good, to be fair. So everyone was really good in that back line. So yeah, it was pivotal. It can only do good for Evan and his confidence, and I think you're seeing him grow in confidence and all that as the season goes on. Because yeah, I think with San Diego there was a bit of a shift, and against Monterey Bay it's pretty much the perfect situation.
Yeah, it was almost like too perfect of a situation, I guess. It's hard to obviously there is effort and like skill and quality involved in keeping a clean sheet. But I'm a lot more bought in on the offense, I think, still than the defense. We've seen this team able to score multiple goals in every game this season, so I'm less impressed by the 5-0, or sorry, less impressed by the offense, and I'm still waiting to see from the defense because of, it is a lower quality team in the league. They were playing down to 10 men. All these things are still making me hesitant to say, at least the defense has turned it around. The offense was fine. We've all said that before. It's the defense that we're concerned needs to turn it around, and I'd still like to see a lot more, over a longer period of time.
Yeah, that's fair because Evan didn't face a shot really. Like some sources say there was one on target, others say there wasn't, and both of them were from outside the area. So he really didn't have much work to do as far as shot stopping is concerned. So yeah, I mean, if the jury's still out for someone listening out there, then that's totally understandable.
I do enjoy the fact that we really battered an opponent into submission in terms of by the end of the first half, they were under so much pressure that we've talked about, that led to the red card. It led to, it leads to the penalty. We have scored goals, all of those things, but our opponents, obviously, by virtue of us losing and twice from winning positions, we had struggled previously to keep the opponent from getting back into the game. So I think the bright spot that I'm looking at is in terms of after the first goal, we've struggled to get to halftime without giving up at least a big chance, if not, and I mean, up till now, we've always conceded that big chance. And we didn't give them anything. If anything, after the goal, the pressure ratcheted up even further. So I like that, and maybe it's not something you can quantify necessarily, but it did feel very different, just in terms of our concentration levels and us being able to stick with it and make sure that, hey, they are not getting back in this game, and in fact, we're going to strangle them completely. And so I think that if I have to focus on an aspect that's super encouraging, yes, this is a lower quality opponent, but that hasn't stopped us this season from letting them back into games. So I think that's where I'm kind of focusing more so in terms of optimism. And I think I said it on Twitter today, but the reality now is that the clean sheet is not in and of itself a turning point for this team. And the 5-0 itself is not in and of itself a turning point, because in order for it to be a turning point, that behavior has to now be the rule and not the exception. So if Locomotive go on a string of, clean sheets and keep, 3 or 4 clean sheets in a row, or, really minimize the big chances we're conceding and all that stuff, then yeah, we can look back on this game and say it was a turning point. for it to be, we have to obviously play well against San Antonio. That's like kind of the catch 22 is it a turning point? Like, who knows? Like, was it a good night? Absolutely. So the next question came, this is a little bit more personnel focused. At Ebow27, Eric Bauer on Twitter, he asks, do you think this back four, Brockbank, Yuma, Fox, Borelli, this backline should be the starting backline moving forward? I think a big part of the success against Monterey was that familiarity with Yuma, Fox, and Borelli. So, I mean, Christian, headed into this one, like, do you think we should stick with the same back four?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that Fox and Yuma are the two most experienced players we have that are capable of playing there, and I think that experience and level-headedness is exactly what has been needed so far this season. So they absolutely deserve it there. I think, I mean, I love seeing Billy out there. I won't. It'll be very biased of me to say what I'm thinking in that, I think that Borelli's better out there than Fox. Um, I have a soft spot for Borelli, but I just think that I get way more excited seeing him out there than Foxy. For me, I like those outside backs who have a little more uh, just flashiness and aren't afraid to go out there. I loved Brian back there, at right back. Um, just having those players that can go out there and are really just are not afraid to push it just a little bit further. Feel like Fox is a bit more even keel and fundamental, which is something that I would prefer in a center back, which is why I think that that's the better position for him.
Mika, what do you think? Is this the vibe?
I mean, Fox is on my team sheet every week, so I'm a little biased there because I just really enjoy Andrew as a player and as a leader. So yeah, and I think him and Yuma are actually quite a good pair. Something that Monterey did try to do was target Yuma with the long ball, and it just didn't work. Like, and you totally get the sense of that because he's not the tallest person on the pitch, but it really didn't work. Yuma was very much on it as well. I think he's played himself into fitness, to be fair to him, and form. So that partnership wouldn't bother me at all. Borelli, I mean, Borelli's just a warrior. Like, he really is fearless out on that flank, and like I said, provided a really really good assist for Josue, and yeah, just a player that is really exciting, like Christian said, and very much in that attacking fullback mold. And then Harry, I think the right back spot is where there's still like very much competition because Siobhan's had good games as well. Siobhan jumped around, and then Harry is, getting to terms with the team because he obviously didn't have a preseason. To be fair to Harry, so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the three kind of Lowry era signings are still on the pitch at San Antonio. Maybe we rotate at right back, but if it was these four, like that wouldn't bother me at all. I think it would make a lot of sense. They played very well.
You brought up them trying to play the long ball at Yuma, and I didn't notice it myself, but you saying it's very humorous to me because I feel like he is more technically like, and he has like the knowledge to put himself in position where he's not, you can't take advantage of him like that. And as we've seen, I feel like he's more of a liability when you put the ball in front of him.
One on one, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So
For
like
sure.
that seems like a terrible tactic to have.
Yeah, and I mean it makes sense because you're not gonna want to like lump it at Andrew Fox, who's like 6'3", but it just wasn't working at all. And yeah, Christian, you make a really good point. It's when the ball's more in front of Yuma where he's got to make a decision: do I slide tackle, or am I gonna get isolated? That kind of thing. Yeah, it didn't work. And I think that's why they make a good pair. Kind of the PK Mascherano, if you will, like the tall, lanky, strong defender, and the shorter one who's really good on the ball. So and very experienced. But yeah,
The the Fox move to center back is always interesting because it has a little bit of those. It has a little bit of Thanos vibes of like whatever after all that it brought you back to me. Like season 1, he gets deployed as a center back because of injury to that Achilles injury to Mishak, and so he's deployed back there. And we talked about it at the time as like he is playing himself into that spot like forever. Like I was convinced that he was just going to play center back from now on because he was so goddamn good at it. And obviously like he has a ton of quality. He is still, I still do. I like him as a left back, but in terms of his impact on the team, it just feels like when he's at that center back spot, he's so commanding. And along with Yuma, having those two back there to marshal things and just really like keep both sides of the team kind of like settled, I guess. It's just I think it's a really big deal to have a guy like that who is, I mean, is he technically gifted enough to play in, further up the field? Probably. But I think that's most of the like most really good or great center backs are, could play elsewhere. It's kind of the same with goalkeepers or whatever, where it's like a lot of the great goalkeepers, you're like, yeah, he could play like in midfield for sure if he wanted. And same with like great defenders. It's like, I mean, does he have to play center back? Like maybe not, but Foxy at center back is there's never a time where, hey, he's in there. It's like, oh boy, like I wonder what we're in for tonight. Like, exactly what you're going to get. And very, very like, it's a very few and far between that he's putting a foot wrong in that spot. So yeah, the two of that, I mean, this four, they earned, I think, another shot at building this partnership. And I like the idea of a handful of guys that I think we've seen flashes from, early, like in fits and starts throughout the early part of the season. They'll have to kind of fight their way back in. And it also does kind of open up. I think we were talking in the group chat about maybe opening up some other opportunities for us to explore like different positions for players, such as Andre Egaluz being deployed in that defensive midfield role as depth for Richie, which could push, Eric Calvillo further up into midfield. And so there's some interesting things that a Foxy center back move kind of gives us more flexibility in midfield selections too.
And to your point, Phil, neither of our backs are natural center backs.
Yeah.
Like, what's up with that?
We've always been the unconventional center back team, I guess, minus Chiro and Mishak obviously is great back there, but yeah, Yuma, Boehner's not really a center back. Egaluz isn't a center back. Fox isn't a center back.
It's really just Payares.
Payares is the only one, yeah. So,
goodness.
So yeah, I think we'll probably be seeing a lot of these guys. The if you want sort of the like an in-depth look at it too, USL Tactics dropped a pretty good tactical look at the win, and primarily looking at like the spacing and a lot of the things that Locomotive did differently in terms of like the backline choosing when to push higher up and being maybe a little bit smarter about when to leave space in behind versus when to close the space. So definitely check out John's article because it was good to see the dive in to that side. But guys, before we move on and take a quick break and then get into the San Antonio preview, we got a question from our good friend at Jake Konecki on Twitter, and this is a little bit off book because the win was a win, but we've been seeing early this season, not in this one obviously, as Locomotive were in their black home kits, But we've been seeing on the road the debut of a white kit that is obviously not the alternate that was announced, but just a hey there Delilah plain white tee. And so Jake asked, what is taking so long with the kit releases and why do they order so little? I wanted the black and the white kits, but they sell out of big boy sizes super quick. I'm hoping they release the keeper kits soon. So guys, I mean, the demand is the supply's just not there. Is this just part of the, larger supply chain crisis that we're like going through at the moment?
That's our understanding, because we have asked, those close to the club about this, and for Jake's, the former part of that question, what's taking so long? Apparently, they put the orders in with Adidas, and Adidas didn't actually honor that order until very close to the season type thing. So it's not anything Locomotive did wrong. It's just Adidas poking it to get the kits to us. So. And you'll notice that these kits are on sale, but the players can't wear them because they don't have the patches, the league patches and whatnot. And apparently those are on the way as well and should be here soon. So hopefully we see the guys in what they're really meant to be wearing. But yeah, the fans have the drip before the guys do. Why do they order so little? I mean, it's like artificial scarcity or some shit. I don't know. I don't know why they do that. But when I was there on Saturday, they seemed to have some decent stock, but yeah, just a little while longer to see the players in the white kits.
Hype beast.
Exactly.
Limited drop.
Gotta get a special app to order them.
Kits, just KTS. And you sign up for the drop or whatever, and then you just get disappointed every time. I don't know. I'm mixing analogies now, but anyways, it's kind of a weird one, and it's definitely one of those weird pieces of trivia too, where technically there will be this plain white kit that Locomotive did wear during this season, for multiple games, and we'll see if we ever see it again, with the plain whites. But yeah, a little bit of a weird trivia.
They've got some specials in store. Noche de Locos apparently is coming back, and that's gonna be cool. And I think they're doing one more special kit. It might not be something they wear on the pitch, but warm ups and what have you. So the club are aware that the people want to see the drip. So
those white kits are gonna be shoot, what am I trying to say? They're gonna be some of those ones that they're trying to sell, like the player worn kits that no one is gonna take. It's why am I gonna pay $200 for this basic ass white shirt?
Collectors.
Unless there are some MLS fans out there, because they are quite fond of those.
Wow.
Those basic ass kits.
Oh man. Well, with that, obviously huge win for Locomotive, and I am really happy too for the fans, Eighth Notch, everyone who got to enjoy what was really a party atmosphere in Southwest University Park, because Locomotive just went absolutely crazy and had the largest margin of victory, as you said, Christian, and most goals scored in a match against Monterey Bay. But we've got a big away match against San Antonio FC coming up this Saturday. So we'll take a quick break, and then we'll be back to preview that. The Seriously Loco match preview. Welcome back to Seriously Loco. Guys, we've got San Antonio coming up on Saturday. Away match. This has traditionally been a little bit of a tricky fixture for us, and particularly last year, this was a brutal fixture. But San Antonio, I think there was some discussion on Twitter this morning, and maybe we start with just the vibe of San Antonio's start to the season, like as it, relates to Locomotives. Obviously, Locomotive seeing if maybe this Monterey Bay match is a little bit of a turning point. Are we turning the corner? San Antonio, on the other hand, have gotten off to a quite strong start. They've won all but one of their opening matches, and that lone loss was to Phoenix. But each of their wins has been by a single goal, and so there's a little bit of a strange thing going on here. And I guess maybe the thing to address, like up front, is San Antonio as a 4-1 team. Do we think that this record like flatters to deceive, or is this just a really like good, hardworking San Antonio team that is going to grind out these results all season?
Yeah, they're a little on the tepid side, I guess. 6 goals for, 4 against, like nothing super exciting. I mean, they are joint for least goals conceded in the Western Conference with, I think, New Mexico United and Switchback, so that's good, right? That they're not, that we certainly can't say the same. I think we've conceded like 13, but we are finally breaking even now. So, yeah, they're just kind of like a, I don't know, I don't want to say turgid because that's a little bit too strong, but just getting the job done, I guess. I mean, they're ceding possession to the likes of RGV, LA Galaxy 2, Orange County, and still winning. So, as results go, that's good. They are slightly overperforming their XG ever so slightly, so they're just kind of like good. You know what I mean? Like nothing too special early doors, and it is early doors. They do have a perfect record on the road and the one loss at home, and obviously they'll be hosting us, and these games are always really interesting, and we do actually hold a little bit of an edge. I think we've got 3 wins to their 2, and then a couple of draws thrown in there all time. That last time we played San Antonio was that really frustrating one where we conceded the equalizer like super late. I think it was Justin Dillon, after a really good performance on the road. So, here's hoping that we can get something. But, yeah, San Antonio, they're just, it's kind of weird to look at them and try to think what they're gonna do, because they've just been kind of like fine.
Yeah, I guess, Christian, the thing I've been looking at is just, they are maybe slightly outperforming their XG despite not really, they haven't scored a ton of goals. They also haven't allowed a ton of goals. But when I look at the teams that they've played up till now, it's not a lot of like really big high flying offenses or anything like that. Detroit City, I think, just had their first like good offensive performance this weekend against Atlanta United. To LA Galaxy 2, again, they're going to be, I would say, like they're, over the course of the season going to struggle. RGV, not typically prolific. And Orange County, almost famously, and especially with the departure of Damas, sort of famously like lacking goals. So are we ready to, I guess, say that like, is some of San Antonio's performance, like, is it being driven a little bit by the opposition so far? Are we like, or are we thinking that this is just what we're going to get with San Antonio, where they are going to be a tough team defensively and they're going to try to grind out the goals?
Yeah, I think that it's probably a little bit of both. They haven't let in that many goals, but I think that their defense has been the strength of their team so far this season. With Mitchell Tainter and Garcia, I think Fabian Garcia. I think those have been 2 of their best players on the field so far, and so with two really good center backs, it's going to happen. And a handful of goalkeepers. They've wrote Jordan Farr, and I don't remember who the other one is. But
Cardone.
Historically, Jordan Farr has done very well also.
Cardone, yeah.
He hasn't played the season actually.
Has he not really?
No,
Wow.
it's been Cardone and
Far came in from Indy, right?
yeah. I'm sorry, yeah, it's not Cardone. I said Cardone again. It's been Far and a guy, Christian Bonilla from Colombia.
Oh,
Um,
that's right. That's right.
so he's done really well too, and he has a lot of Colombian experience. So he definitely is not he has experience and that with the two really good center backs and two really good goalkeepers that can be called upon. That strong defense is just what you're gonna get. That is part of their identity, and so um, it's a good test for us. We have that high powered offense, but we also haven't gone against these superb defenses. So I think it'll be a really good test for the offense and a good chance for the defense to again kind of work their way into the season a little bit. They're not scoring goals like Phoenix or something else where it might be a little more worrisome. So hopefully now that the defense has found their footing, they can continue to gain a little bit of that with a just a moderately powered.
The one of the players who's sort of emerged as one of their main goal scoring threats is David Loera, who was at Phoenix. Never really like forced his way into the team consistently in Phoenix, getting a chance with San Antonio, and he's off to a decent goal scoring start, couple of goals, and from that kind of like 10 position. Where their strikers, they've been facing some injuries, not as many strikers available from their typical crop. With Gallegos departing, like goals, I think you'd expect them to dry up a little bit, but they've found other sources so far, and they have found a way to win these matches as well. So, so with that in mind, the other aspect of this is that San Antonio FC are into the third round of the U.S. Open Cup by virtue of beating Seriously Loco's favorite amateur team in the competition, Defeaters from Texas. They played a really weird cup tie against Defeaters, but by virtue of that, earned a place against in the third round against Austin FC of MLS. And so a question we got from at HJ the Third on Twitter, with SAFC maybe looking ahead to Austin in the U.S. Open Cup, could we possibly squeeze out a win Saturday? Do you think San Antonio is going to prioritize that Austin match midweek? And could we see some rotation, do you think?
It's a hard one because I mean that is definitely a marquee matchup. Arguably the biggest MLS side closest to them. I don't know. I mean, do we give them a shot at winning maybe? Because I personally don't. I think Austin should have enough quality to put them away, but I mean we've seen some shockers in the past. It's just I don't see it with how goal shy the San Antonio side has been. I don't think that bodes well for a cup tie necessarily with a team in a bigger division than you. So I don't know that they're actually gonna prioritize it all that much for anything but marketing purposes, if I'm being honest. So yeah, I don't know. I think they'll try to keep going in the league actually, but who knows?
Yeah, and maybe it's partially just me thinking like, I mean, we're not in the competition, so why would anyone prioritize Open Cup? Because it's a thing of the past. We've put it behind us.
Gone.
We've put it behind us. Why doesn't everybody else? No, I think I don't know that we'll see. Sorry, to your point, Mika, I don't think that we'll see as much of the rotation because I don't think they're going to be putting their eggs in the beating Austin basket because it's one of those things where the Open Cup, like, it feels like something that you want as a lower league side, like you want to put the investment into in terms of like making a run and everything, but like what does that run buy you in like practically speaking across the across the season aside from just like more games? So it's like, how long do you prioritize the cup over the league at the potential expense of precious points that may come into play like come playoff time?
Right.
So yeah, it's a little bit of a strange trade-off. I don't know that we'll see too significant of a change in their lineup though. But yeah, I guess we'll see what San Antonio prioritizes. But I just can't see them. I can't see them starting like, I think they started a bunch of academy kids against defeaters. Like it was a really, really changed side. I don't think they make those sorts of changes for Locomotive in San Antonio. Like I just, that would be very shocking, I think, for us to see like wholesale changes for an in-state rivalry in the league. So to your point, I think we can possibly win, but I don't think it'll be because San Antonio's made a bunch of changes looking ahead to Austin. Well, that does bring us to the business end of things. And Christian, I mean, we've got the pick'em ongoing. Do you have where things stand so far this season in terms of how we've been predicting? I know we all got off to a rough start, likewise with Locomotive. But maybe we had some lead changes or some gains in the last week with the win.
I don't have to be honest with you. I am not current right now. Missing San Diego results and Monterey results.
Oh, okay.
So I will have to re-listen to those episodes and get that updated. But we can certainly start with the San Antonio match again.
Yeah, we can go ahead and dive right into predictions then. With well, I guess, I mean, it can kind of be dealer's choice in terms of who goes first, but Christian, we can start with you as the San Antonio win of the pod. I'll give you the chance to kick off the predictions for this one.
Yeah, I think I am going to remain cautious and maybe a little bit cynical, depending on, how you're looking at things. But I'm going to say we get a 2-2 draw, which I think will be a good result. I think 2-2 away, given everything that we've gone through so far this season, is a good result to take home. I'm going to say 2-2, and I will say, let's say Diego. Let's say another Diego goal.
You literally took my exact predictions, goal scorer and results. Oh my gosh. I'll do 1-1 as a result. I think it will be a draw. But I also will stick with Diego because he did score in the last fixture, last time we met. And he's off the mark now, so expect the pink boots to keep producing.
I'm gonna go with what seems to be the most common scoreline of San Antonio's season so far, but I'm gonna flip it on its head, and this is primarily for differentiation because I am still very cautious about this game. I do think us going on the road there has been tough in recent years. But I am going to say that we eke out a 2-1 win. And yeah, I think this one is going to be, I mean, ultimately this match is going to be defined by, like, is Locomotive's defensive improvement like I said, like, has it become the rule, like, rather than the exception? And will we be able to, because I guess the thing mainly driving the prediction is I think our offense like has a really good chance of breaking them down. Like we haven't struggled, like we've said, over and over again, we haven't struggled to score goals. So I'm not as concerned about like, oh, are they going to shut us down or really like stifle us? I'm more so concerned about like when we get the goals or, when we get the breakthrough or whatever, are we going to be able to then manage the game from there? So 2-1, this is my most optimistic prediction about this match. I probably, my gut says draw, but I'll go with the cautious optimism of a 2-1, and maybe Big Ev makes a couple of nice late game saves to preserve the lead and earn a little bit of confidence back. But I will go for Josue Aaron Gomez, the goal scorer, riding that wave of confidence, and also maybe because I think if we do win 2-1, then one of them's probably a penalty. So
I would love that. Oh boy.
Manny Sinupe earning another penalty probably.
Are we doing a watch along?
So I had the realization like right after I said this, and I'll edit this too, but I meant to say, so my sisters and they're coming out for Easter this weekend.
Oh, right.
So I'll be watching the game, but I probably won't be doing the watch along, unfortunately.
No problem.
I had that realization like right after I said watch along. And I'm like, shit. Like, anyways. So, I mean,
I was like, do you require equipment for that, or do you
no,
just go
if I give you the
StreamYard,
login, then you wouldn't need to do anything extra. So you guys could totally do it. I don't need to do it.
I'll probably be available, Mika.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, if I think I should be, but yeah, anyway.
Cool. So yeah, we will have we'll likely have a live watch along of the match out in San Antonio for anyone who wants to tune in. Normally I wouldn't say this because we do the watch alongs because, away commentary can be a little bit rough for a Locomotive, fan to listen to because they're biased and they often, trend towards the home team. And so it can be a little bit tough to listen to. So we offer this option to watch along and, watch along with other Locomotive supporters. This time I really this is an almost like medical recommendation. Because if you've watched, and I know that there's San Antonio fans listening to this, and with all due respect, like it is nothing against them as people, but that commentary team is really, really horrible. Like they're really rough to listen to. It's just, they talk about stuff that isn't what's happening on the field, and then they don't stop. Like they don't stop to describe what's happening. And it's often huge moments will pass with no comment of any sort. And it's just, I just don't understand what their goal is. So anyways, again, it's nothing against them personally. It's just it's just not great. So we have another option for you. It'll be on Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you're on Twitch and Facebook, you can chat along with. And it was a really weird vibe in the last one, but awesome because we were going through this collective just a horrifying experience where we were all watching this implosion in the Open Cup against Central Valley Fuego. But I feel like we kind of helped each other through it in a weird way. So in a win, or in a good performance, at least we'd be able to all, be everybody's in the chat and we can like celebrate that. Or if it goes south, then we get to help each other through it. It's like a group therapy session. So anyways, tune into that. It should be a good time this weekend for what is a big match in the Copa Tejas, which we didn't speak about the fact that we're thinking that might be cursed, but so maybe Copa Tejas isn't the goal anymore. But no, it is a huge in-state rivalry. There will be a good contingent traveling, from what I understand as well, and that's always great to see when Locomotive fans are able to make the trek to our in-state rivals. And yeah, aside from that, if you've enjoyed the show, you can find us on all the big podcast platforms, and and you can also, if you can, leave a rating or a review of the show, if you're so inclined. It is, if the platform allows it, please consider it. I've been seeing some more ratings and reviews, and it's always cool to know that people are enjoying the show, and it also, helps more people find the show who might be interested in USL or in Locomotive specifically. But anyways, you can also find us on social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. The handles are at the top of the show, and we will be back after the San Antonio match to describe how things went and look ahead for Locomotive again. And yeah, this has been Seriously Loco, and until next time, stay loco.